The Catcher in the Rye, a novel by J.D. Salinger. Instagram. Why Instagram, you might ask? I chose Instagram because it's one of my favorite forms of social media. I also chose it because almost everyone my age has it, and I'm at the same age as Holden during the novel. There's over 130 million active users on Instagram, 58 uploads per second, and over 16 billion uploaded pictures. So obviously it's a really popular forum to share your pictures and stories. That's why I decided to use it. I also thought it would be fun to try and recreate an Instagram post. In this post, I act like Holden because I'm saying I don't want my parents to find out I got kicked out of Pensy. I also talk about my sister, Phoebe, his sister, and I talk about how much I miss her and love her, and just reminiscing about good times. I also use the hashtags sister and beautiful because I feel like he really loves his sister and thinks a lot of her. In this post, I talk about Holden going down to the lavender. In the book, he said he got a really lousy table. Not many kids use that nowadays, so I just said he got a really crappy table. Another word he used that most kids our age don't use anymore was when he said the band was putrid. Instead of putrid, I just used the word terrible because it sounded more realistic to what a teenager would say. I used the hashtags drawing in my red hat. I just described what he was wearing, kind of his physical attributes, and just the drawing that he made in his journal. I start off this post by trying to act like Holden, saying I'm moving on these three clueless girls. I continue to say that Holden gave them the sexy eyes, but in the book it says I started giving her the old eye a little bit. In the chapter, Holden talks about liking to dance a lot, so I added that in, and I also added the part where he danced with the blonde girl on the dance floor, and says, God, she was a great dancer. I added a picture of Seattle, the place where these morons are from. But I've changed morons to idiots, because it's more something a teenager would say nowadays. I also put in, it's a good thing I only had to ask 3 times to get the answer, because in the book, Holden had to ask where they were from 3 times before he got an answer. I decided to add a picture of the jitterbug. I didn't really know what it was, and I doubt all the other teenagers around my age do too. So I kind of related this to today's society by thinking about what other teenagers would think if they read the jitterbug. So I decided to add a picture and kind of play along by saying not many of you know what it means, but probably a lot of people don't know what it means. I put a picture of the 3 Stooges to give you kind of an insight into Holden's mind of what he thought of the 3 girls. The whole story, he was kind of saying they were morons and idiots, so that's why it kind of made me think of the 3 Stooges. I also added the hashtag dumb, dumb, and dumber, because that's kind of a saying we say nowadays more than we did back then. This post is of 2 glasses of bourbon. It's when Holden bought everyone 2 more drinks, including himself, but he only bought himself 2 Cokes because the bartender wouldn't let him buy any liquor without ID. At the time, he was pretty mad in the book, but he understood, and that's why I added that into my post. He also mentioned that Laverne, the ugly one, kept on making fun of him because of his drinking Cokes, so I added that into my post. I added the hashtag Coke is better anyway, just because I thought it was kind of funny, and teenagers our age kind of have that sense of humor. I added the Radio City Music Hall because it's kind of a iconic building in New York City, and that's where Holden was at the time. The little girls also said that they were going to Radio City Music Hall for the first show in the morning, so I also added it because of that. Later on in my post, Holden mentioned that if he was ever in Seattle, he'd look them up, but he then said that he would never do that. So I thought that was kind of funny, and I added it in. Someone our age would still do that today, and hashtag see you never is just kind of a trending thing, so I put that in as well. I added a bill on the table because when the girls left Holden to pay, they didn't offer to pay any of it, and he was pretty mad about it. Instead of making fun of them, calling them like ignorant and saying they have ugly hats, which is probably a pretty normal reaction for a kid his age. I used the hashtag dimwits because, well, he probably thought the girls were dimwits. And hashtag thanks for the check, just using sarcasm. The last post talks about how bored he was just sitting in the lavender room by himself without the girls or a dance partner or any liquor to drink. I use the hashtag boring because he was bored when everyone left. I also made a comment by a made-up character, Duncan3 is the username, and he said, I agree, unless you have a buzz on, lavender rooms suck. I made this comment because teenagers nowadays kind of agree on the same thing and do the same things, so I thought that was just a way to add some of today's society into it.